Hi, it didn't take long before I got itchy feet after returning from Cairns back to Melbourne. Melbourne was still cold and I was looking forward to escaping to warmer climes up north as soon as possible. As it turned out, I already had a trip booked to Thailand and Vietnam and then back to Thailand. So it was a little convoluted, but I did all my bookings again through Airbnb, and that was in September 2015. Now I had an interesting experience this time and have a lot of feedback to give you regarding my times with the Airbnb experience. I've been to Chiang Mai many times, so that was no big deal arriving there. I did have a bit of fun. I had fun and games at the airport though. It's a cute little airport, but there's no public transport into the city. You have to use local taxis called song towels, which are red, like converted pickup trucks with benches down the back where you sit, and you negotiate the fare from the airport. Things had changed since I'd been there last time, a year prior to that. I tried to negotiate a decent fare with a number of songtail drivers, and the lowest I could get them down from was 150 baht down to 100 baht to get to where I needed to go. It's very high considering that a trip around the city itself is supposed to be just 20 baht, so they were really trying it on, and I almost got to a stage where I gave up and accepted the 100 baht. But as it turned out, I just happened to, my last chance, I got an honest songtail driver who only charged me 60 baht. And so we're off to my Airbnb booking. Now I had a rough idea where I was staying because as I say, I spent a lot of time in Chiang Mai. It's basically my second home. And so I had decent maps to follow. And if it wasn't for all that, there's no way I would have found that place, because the actual taxi driver didn't have a clue. I had to direct him to where I was staying, and so it was quite a winding soi, which is a small laneway in Thailand, that we followed to get down to where the booking was located, because it was a private home. So we did find it. It wasn't too bad once we got off the main road. And the person there was there to greet me, and so that was all fine, and they gave me the keys and I was all settled in. The actual property itself was incredibly large, had a great frontage, which is what you wouldn't get in a hotel. You had your own personal front yard with a bit of greenery and a hammock, and it was just really nice, the front of the house, which was gated, so like a gated terrace house. And the front of the interior was really nice as well. It had like a French influence with lots of windows and what have you. The bedrooms were, the ground floor bedroom was large but fairly basic, a fairly basic bed. And one thing I noticed, the security in the rear was terrible. There was actually the rear door was actually only secured using masking tape. Luckily, it didn't go out to the street. It was in a little private space in the rear, but still, it wasn't exactly perfect. I actually made it a little more secure by pinning it up a bit more securely, but it wasn't brilliant. The upstairs was quite nice, beautiful stairways made out of wood. I love the wood up in Thailand. And the upstairs bedroom had aircon, which it turned out to be essential because it was quite a warm house. Probably the warmest house I'd stayed in Chiang Mai. So I stayed there for about 10 days, and that was great. It was in a fantastic location. It could get pretty warm, but I had the fan downstairs and that kept me cool enough. I found out from the manager who greeted me initially when I left that a number of people had actually pulled the plug staying there because they found it too hot after a few days. He told me this when he was giving me a lift to the airport, which is very nice of him. He was actually taking over, renting out the place from the lady who was my host from Perth, who was actually going to be staying there herself for the following 2 weeks. And so I'll look out for the property again, because I actually quite liked it there. It was a bit rough, run down, but it was huge and it felt pretty homey, and it was in a good location. So pretty happy with that. That worked out well. I didn't have internet for the first day, but that got sorted pretty quickly, and I made sure I had a local SIM card in my mobile so I could contact the host. And I think that's pretty important if you're going to stay for a week or two. So that was okay, and then I flew off to Saigon for 2 weeks, and getting I got there okay. Funnily enough, it was like a replay of the situation with the Songtao driver in Chiang Mai. I had to direct the venison cab to where I was staying. I've stayed in Saigon a few times, and I roughly knew where my place was. And the taxi driver was going the wrong direction down the street. I was sure of that, so I said to him, "Look, go up this way," and we did. And we eventually found the place I was staying at, which was at the end of a laneway. It was an apartment complex in Saigon, in quite a nice part of Saigon, in District 3. It was a one-bedroom apartment, but it was quite nice. The only downside was that the aircon wasn't, one of the air conditioners wasn't working, so I had to make one aircon do all the work and leave the door open from the bedroom so it would cool the living area. But apart from that, it was quite a nice place to stay. There was a major communication problem with the host. They made it sound as if they would give me an extra night there free of charge, and as it turned out, they sent the manager sent one of his workers to collect that first night's rent from me after I got back from the bar at night, which I didn't sort of appreciate, because I wasn't expecting to have to pay any money to them. And you don't expect to have an employee knock on your door at about say 8 o'clock at night, or 8 or 9, I can't remember. It wasn't early, asking for money. So that was pretty tacky. That was probably the worst thing that happened there. I had a few hassles as well with the staff, and it wasn't, the cleaning there wasn't brilliant. So I doubt whether I would have stayed there again anyway. And I know that when I actually moved in there, the previous review I read just before I arrived told people to beware of this place, because the manager had basically bumped him out of a booking at the last minute. He turned up on a Saturday night, and the manager said that we don't have you booked. So he left the guy high and dry, and he had to find somewhere else to stay. So I was a bit concerned that my booking may not be confirmed either. So I made sure I kept in contact with the host right up to the beginning, a few days before I actually arrived. Probably a good thing to always do with an Airbnb booking. But it's pretty strange, because this is actually run by a company that rents out apartments, so you think they should be more professional than that. But anyway, so that worked out okay. I wouldn't stay with them again, but the Airbnb experience is all right. It was a pretty reasonable deal I had, and. So then the last place I went to on that trip, I had to go back via Phuket. Now, I've never been to Phuket in Thailand, and so I actually pre-booked my last B&B residence in Karon Beach. I didn't want to be in Patong, which is quite busy, and apparently the beach itself's no great shake, so I wanted to be in a little more laid-back area. Trouble is that the minibus driver really had a hard time trying to find this place. And when he did, it was up this incredibly steep slope, so the access to it was pretty ordinary. It was on a hill which had a nice view, I guess, but for practical purposes, difficult to get to. And but that wasn't the major issue. Major problem is when I finally got in there and confirmed I was in the right place, I was given the keys by the management, or the night watchman, I guess he was, and the flat looked just the way it was described on Airbnb. But the reality hit me big time when I opened the bedroom door and was absolutely overcome by choking mould smell. Really bad. Never encountered as that bad before. And also the toilet area smelled pretty ordinary as well, and that wasn't just mould coming from there either. So I tried to air it out as best I could, but it wasn't a very pleasant night's sleep, I'll tell you right now. And I spent the rest of the next day basically trying to air out the apartment, but really to no avail. It was constant rain, the weather was terrible, so dampness everywhere, so I guess that exacerbated the situation. What also exacerbated was that there was a jammed door into the bedroom. There was two doors, but you couldn't open them. So, you know, the place really wasn't maintained perfectly either. And I'd had communication difficulties with the host as well. Well, with the woman, there was actually a guy. He was okay, but the woman just didn't understand what I was saying. I think her native language was French, so that was a problem as well. So again, this is not something you'd have to encounter when you're doing a booking through a hotel. So I decided to persevere one more night. I stayed one night, then I thought I was reticent to stay the second night, but I thought, oh, what the hell, I'll give it a go. I have aired out the place a bit, so. And then I did, and but it still wasn't good. And I felt the whole area, the Karon beach area, is very isolated. If you haven't got transport, it's not a great place to stay unless you're maybe in the main strip, which I wasn't. So it's quite spread out, and I wouldn't recommend it for people without transport. So basically I just spat the dummy and just I left one night earlier, and I basically I'd already paid for that night for 3 nights and left after 2. I just couldn't handle anymore. I ended up staying at a hotel that I found online being advertised through booking.com called Batong Mansion, and that was excellent. And it was so nice moving into a hotel after that experience, or getting treated like a king in comparison, because you know they had properly trained staff and they looked after me. They gave me a late checkout. They were really good. And it was right near the centre of town with plenty of action, in spite of the fact that Patong may not be the most attractive place on earth. At least there's something to do. There's plenty of bars. There's, you know, you can walk down to the beach, took about a quarter of an hour, and I didn't feel isolated. So that was a huge improvement. I guess, you know, it comes back to this Airbnb thing again. You've got to be really careful with the bookings. The reviews for this place I stayed at were excellent, and it looked fantastic on the page. It really did. However, it didn't really live up to that in reality. Maybe I was very unlucky because of that time of year. It was just so damp, I don't know. But it was my worst experience by far. As a matter of fact, I actually wrote to Airbnb and said to them I didn't think it was habitable for you, it was acceptable for human habitation, because they do give you a feedback page. I've heard absolutely nothing back from them. That was in September last year, and I still haven't heard a word back from Airbnb. So it makes you wonder whether they really do care what guests feel about the properties they're staying at that Airbnb are advertising. You know, the other thing that I found interesting too is that when I checked out the site, I found out the name of the property, of course, when I was there, and the name of the apartment properties, and I found it advertised on booking.com. And surprise, surprise, on booking.com the rating was much lower. And there was a lot of negative reviews as well as some positive reviews. So to me, it just proved that say booking.com, because the people are fairly anonymous, the ones that, you know, the people staying there, they're just staying at a hotel as far as they're concerned. They can be honest with their reviews, and it certainly did get plenty of negative reviews on booking.com that just didn't exist on Airbnb. And I think that is a major flaw with their system, that it basically encourages too much positivity and not enough reality. And so you just need to be aware of that. I mean, I've had some great deals with Airbnb, but I'll be very careful using them in the future. So I just, just say you need to do your due diligence, and by all means use them. I'll use them again, but you just have to check things out with a fine-tooth comb and make sure that you're totally happy with what you have. Of course, the other little downside of Airbnb is that you'll find a number of times that the host will just cancel bookings at the last minute, and that generally won't happen with a hotel, because they'll find you another place to stay if they can't put you into that particular room. But I've noticed that if you look through Airbnb, you'll see that quite a bit. So there are a few things that you need to be aware of. They have their pros and cons, each of these type of booking systems, and I learnt the hard way with that last one in Phuket that when things don't go well, they can be pretty unpleasant. So just a word of caution. Hopefully you will never have to worry about something like that, but like I say, do your due diligence. Okay, I hope that's been of help to you. Bye.